So the first and most basic form of a subprogram is called a procedure. And basically a procedure is a mini program within, I spelled program right, within a program that performs a single task. Pretty much the exact definition above. Now of course, and is reusable. Spelled preferably better. So it's a reusable mini program within a program that performs a single task. Best example I can come up with that you've already seen before is println. We use that all the time. It doesn't do anything other than display information on the screen. If I give it hello world, it's going to display hello world. If I give it a variable, it's going to display whatever's stored in that variable. So how do we actually define a procedure? Well, there's a basic general structure that we follow, and it's fairly straightforward, but it can be confusing because it's going to use all the concepts that we've discussed in the last few modules, such as scope and parameters and everything therein. Pay attention while we're going along, and make sure that you go back over some things if you need to in the previous videos. So we're going to do this in Eclipse so we can see it firsthand. Let me just get rid of this stuff here. Kind of start over. Now, the basic structure that we're going to have here is private, static, void. All of our procedures are going to start exactly like this for now. They're not going to change in any way at this point. And then we're going to follow that by an identifier, some type of name for our subprograms. And we're going to follow that by some brackets, and we're going to actually define our parameters. We're actually declaring variables here. So for example, in println, its parameters might have looked like string text. We saw that when we moused over POW, its parameters look like double A and double B. Not very good variable names, but still did its purpose. It still had we knew that they were two doubles that it required, and that they were different values based on their naming. So what we're going to be doing, I should probably get rid of this stuff as well. It's overshadowing me. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to finish creating this. We have our opening and closing brackets. And what we have to do at this point is just put any code that we want to execute, go to execute, whenever identifier is called, whenever the variable name or the subprogram name is actually called. Code to execute. Now let's see how that actually works. Let's create one. Private, static, void. I'm going to create one called output user info. Anybody that was paying attention was what was up there a second ago. And we're going to require two parameters, string name and int age. Now inside here I'm just going to have it display those values in a user-friendly manner, system.out.println. Let's say name colon plus name, concatenate name onto it. Do a little copy paste here so we can get everything. And age. Okay. What we've done here is we've basically defined the stamp. We've created our very own procedure. Whenever we want to use it, we just need to call it. Now, we look at the parameter list here, and the parameter list says that every time we call it, we must give it a name and we must give it an age. We must give it a string and an int in that order. That is the contract we're defining when we create our subprogram. This line here is called the signature line, and it's called the signature line because it's what makes the subprogram, the procedure in this case, unique. It's unique in its name and it's unique in its parameters. You won't find another subprogram inside of our program that has both the same name as well as the same parameters. It just won't exist. It won't compile. It'll give you a problem. It'll say, sorry, can't do it. Now, we've seen how to actually do it. Notice where we're doing it. Let me just get rid of this general form here for a second. We're doing it inside the class. We see that there's the opening bracket, there's the closing bracket for the class. But we're doing it outside of main. So typically we'll create our subprograms, our personal subprograms, below the main because we intend to use it within main typically until we get into the game projects, which may vary because you're not going to be doing too much programming in main. But for now, we're going to be using it in main, which is why we require it to be static. If we were going to use it anywhere else outside of main, if we were going to call it in anything else that wasn't static, we actually wouldn't need that. We could actually take that away. And in fact, it might complain if we did try have it static and use it inside of a non-static subprogram. Now in this case, we're going to use it in main. So the next video is going to go into detail about how to take advantage of the subprogram and deal with the parameters and all the problems therein.